Hi everyone, in this video we are going to be talking about scientific notation. Scientific notation is how we express really big numbers or really small numbers. If you have a number like this or like this, when you use these in calculations, you're not going to be writing out or typing into your calculator all of these zeros. It's a waste of time and you're going to make mistakes. So this is why we use scientific notation. In scientific notation, we're going to have a coefficient number, and this is going to be anything between 1 and 10. And then it's going to be times 10 to the power of some sort of exponent. This exponent is telling us the magnitude of how large or how small our number is. So to do this, we're going to see how many times we move our decimal point to get that coefficient, okay? In this number, in the first one, my coefficient is going to be 3. Why? Because that's our number between 1 and 10. In our second number, my coefficient is going to be 1.5. Why? Because this is between 1 and 10. Can you do scientific notation with 30 times 10 to the power of something, or 0.5 times 10 to the power of something, or 150 times 10 to the power of whatever? Absolutely yes. And we will be doing this a lot as you get further into the course. But for the sake of what you're going to see in an answer choice or what's the actual correct notation for this, you want your coefficient to be between 1 and 10. So there is a decimal point right here. It's not drawn out because there's nothing after it and all of these zeros are insignificant, which we will talk about in another video. But we want to see how many times we need to move this decimal point to get 3. So we are going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We moved our decimal point 10 times, and now we have 3 times 10 to the 10th. For a smaller number, we have our decimal point right here, and I want to move it. I want to see how many times I move it to get 1.5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is going to give me 1.5 times 10 to the negative 5. So as you can see, this is a positive exponent. Why? Because it is a really big number. So we want a really big or really positive exponent. For a small number, we want a negative exponent. A lot of teachers and textbooks like to say, like, if you're moving your decimal point to the left versus to the right, this is how you remember. I'm going to show you guys how I kind of visualize and how I remember that a really small number needs a negative exponent. If we have a number line, let's just, oh, that was, okay. Okay. In a number line, as you move this way, your numbers get smaller and smaller and smaller. So you can see that -2 is smaller than 4. That's how I remember if you have a really small number, you want a really small or really negative exponent, if that makes sense. And a really big number, you want a really big or positive exponent. A lot of students also tend to make mistakes with scientific notation or using exponents in general because they don't know how to use their calculators. The calculator actually has a function for times 10 to the power of, and this is going to be a capital E. Where we can find this, and this is present in every single calculator. I'm just using the TI-30X2S for the sake of this video. I also really like the TI-30XS. And these are both Texas Instruments, but Casio is the main other calculator brand. They have a lot of great options as well. Once again, I highly recommend against using the TI-30XA. While you guys are in the beginning of your chemistry careers, make the switch to a calculator that you have the little arrows and that you can see the work that you're doing and edit it. So our capital E, it's right here. So we have x to the -1. So let me just, we have x to the -1, but if you look above that, it's kind of hard to see. You see 2 capital E's. That is our function for scientific notation. How do I get that? You are going to press second and then x to the power of -1. Okay, so let me just write that right here. Oops. Second, x to the -1. This will give you, oh, you're not pressing like equal, it'll show up as this. This will give you E. And again, E is times 10 to the power of whatever. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys how I would plug these into my calculator. For this guy, I would write it as 3E 10. For this one, I would do 1.5 E negative 5. If I wanted to divide these, I would plug this into my calculator by doing 3E 10 divided by 1.5 E negative 5. So I'll show you guys what this would look like being plugged in. We would have 3, and then you would do second x to the negative 1, then you would do 10, divided by 1.5, second x to the negative 1, then you would do negative 5. And then you would just press enter, and this would give you your answer. When you plug this into your calculator, so I'll just plug this in so that we can see exactly what my calculator would give me. So we do 3E10 divided by 1.5 E negative 5. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but this is what this will look like in your calculator. And when I press enter, I get 2 times 10 to the 15th. If you are planning on taking the MCATs or the DATs, I highly recommend getting in the habit of doing this without a calculator, at least just the portion with your exponents. If I were to rewrite this, I could do 3 over 1.5 times 10 to the power of 10, and then whatever is in your denominator, you're going to subtract it. So 10 minus 5. That's how we are going to simplify our exponents in scientific notation. So this is going to be 10 minus 5, which is also 10 plus 5. 3 divided by 1.5 is 2, times 10 to the power of 10 plus 5 is 15. If we were to multiply these numbers, it would look like this. So if we have 3 times 10 to the 10th times 1.5 times 10 to the negative 5, we would do 3 times 1.5, and then we would do times 10 to the power of, and instead of subtracting our exponents, we are going to be adding them. So it would be 10 plus negative 5. So in this case, we would have 3 times 1.5, so we would have 4.5 times 10 to the power of 5. One last thing, and you can actually kind of see it happening with this example, is that if you have an exponent or scientific notation in your denominator, you can move it to your numerator and just flip the sign. This is going to be really important when we use SI units and SI prefixes to be able to easily convert from like grams to milligrams to kilograms. This is very, very important in all of chemistry, especially all of physics as well. So I'm going to just kind of show you guys really quick. So if we have 1 over 10 to the third, this is the same thing as 10 to the negative third. If we have 1 over 10 to the negative 15th, this is the same thing as 10 to the 15th. I'll go in depth on this in a different video, but I just wanted you guys to kind of see the pattern. So like when we have something in the denominator, we can move it to the numerator as long as we subtract it or flip the sign of it. Because if you subtract a negative number, you get a positive. And that is what we saw happening here. This is it for our video on scientific notation and how to use our calculator for scientific notation. I will see you all in the next video.